We'll have Rabbi Daniel Glatstein, prolific Machabes Sfarim, author, speaker, Rav. He's talking about the Torah view on the situation. Fascinating word he's going to say about how this is a war that every single one of us has an element of responsibility and can have an impact on the outcome of this war, how each one of us can have an impact on the outcome. Really fascinating conversation with Rabbi Glatstein.
This war happened because of me, and my actions will dictate the outcome of this war. And this is a true and empowering thought that every Jew is obligated to have and to think and to feel with every fiber of his being. And regarding this battle, nobody could say, ma ani or ma chayai, what's my value, what's my worth? What's your worth? You're only the most important part of this war. Every single Jew has to say that the outcome of this war will be because of them.
Joining us from New York is the famous Rav and author of Daniel Glatstein. He's a Rav of Kehillas, Tiferes Mordechai in Cedarhurst. He's one of the most prolific Magidi Shiurim on Torah anytime. He's a Chaber of Magid Harakia, Many Chalakim. Welcome, Rav Daniel.
Thank you, Dovid. Thank you for the opportunity.
So what is your average Balabas, Ben-Torah? What can we do? How do we feel so helpless? If you're in the army, it's one thing. If you have Baruch Hashem, have a son-in-law, he's a Rav in Eretz Yisrael, so he works with they identify the Mesim, the Nerugim. So he's involved. He's in his uniform from morning to night. But what is your average person? What do we do to feel that we're somehow able to be mishtatif?
Look, so there are two angles over here. As Maminim B'nai Maminim, of course there's a war zone, and there's a front line, and there's a physical war that's taking place. And our heart goes out to the soldiers and to their families who are risking their life to protect Achinu B'nai Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael in America. But as Maminim B'nai Maminim, it's our Messiah that this war is Nishrash, it's rooted in Shemayim. This is a physical war that's rooted in the world of Ruchnias, where there's a battle taking place between Yishmael, the force of evil, and Klal Yisrael, the force of Kedusha in this world. And regarding this battle, every single Jew is on the front lines. And regarding this battle, we all have to wake up in the morning and say, I'm not just a soldier, I'm a general. This is Parshas Bereshis. Chayiv Adam Loima, B'Shvili Nivra Ha'olam. We're obligated to say the Rebbe Hashem created many horses at the time of B'Rias Ha'olam, many cows, many rabbits, many bears, but Lefikach Nivra Adam Yechidi, he created one man, so that each individual should say, the world was created for me. And understanding that the world was created for me means this war happened because of me, and my actions will dictate the outcome of this war. And this is a true and empowering thought that every Jew is obligated to have and to think and to feel with every fiber of his being, that whatever time I usually go to Shachris, well, we're now in a war zone, so I have to make sure that I am empowering the Jewish people with my tefillah, with my mitzvahs, with my decorum, with my limanat Torah, with my chesed. And regarding this battle, nobody could say, ma ani or ma chayai, what's my value, what's my worth? What's your worth? You're only the most important part of this war. Every single Jew has to say that the outcome of this war will be because of them. And that's a very important thought and a very true thought and a very empowering thought. So, the Gemara tells us in the Masechta Taanis, it's one of my favorite Gemaras. The Gemara says that in the neighborhood of Rav Huna, there was a fire. In the city of Rav Huna, there was a fire. In the neighborhood of Rav Huna, there was no fire. Everyone said, it must be Rav Huna. And the Gemara says, no, it wasn't Rav Huna. There was a woman who heated up her oven and let other families use it, and the whole neighborhood was saved in her zechus. So very often, it might not be the big tzaddik or the big gadol or the Rosh Yeshiva. Sometimes the fate of the Jewish people hinges on, it could be any Jew and it could be any Maisa. And everyone has to say, it's going to be me. That's our obligation. There couldn't have been a more perfect parsha for this to happen because it empowers us. The Gemara says in the neighborhood of Rav, it was the only neighborhood there was no famine. So everyone says it must be Rav. No, it wasn't Rav. It was a guy who would lend out his shovel for Kvuras Mesim. That means the whole neighborhood was spared because of one person's Gemilas Chasadim. So this is something that we all have to feel. All of our avodah, whatever we do, Torah, avodah, tefillah, gemilas chasadim, it has to take on a heightened form because we're in the war zone, we're soldiers, we're generals, and what we do will dictate the outcome. Now, in terms of what specifically we should do, it's always important to differentiate between, people want to know, so why is this happening? What's the cause? What did we do wrong? That's above our pay grade. Many years ago, there was a bombing on number 2 bus in Eretz Yisrael, so everyone had their suggestion of why it happened and why it happened on the bus, and they asked Rabbi Yashiv, and Rabbi Yashiv said, "Ainli Asek ben Istarais." We don't know. So if Rabbi Yashiv didn't know, then it goes with that. We don't even have to say it. We don't know. But on the other hand, there are things that we do know, and we do know how to fight a war, and that's because Chazal have mapped out for us certain techniques and duchusim that have to be focused on as a targeted effort to fight a milchama. And I also think it's very important to recognize the enemy. I think in our generation, when anything happens, everyone's running for chizuk. You need chizuk. You need chizuk. If somebody is starving, do they need chizuk or do they need food? They need food. Chizuk doesn't hurt. Sure, it's helpful, but they need food. And if someone's thirsty, they need hydration. They don't need chizuk. Chizuk helps. And if someone is ill, they need chizuk, but they need medicine. So when you're fighting a war, we need chizuk. We're broken. We were caught off guard. We feel helpless, but we need to identify the enemy. And the enemy here is Yishmael. And therefore, we need to study, how do you fight Yishmael? What do Chazal tell us about Yishmael? What's their weak point? How do you fight a war against them? And this is very important. Yes, chizuk, but education, limud. This is no different than any sugya. This is the sugya of Yishmael. So how do we conduct ourselves against Yishmael? So we have to look. There are many Makairais. Perkei Rebbe Lezer says Yishmael. Why are they called Yishmael? I believe Perkei Rebbe Lezer Perek Lamed says because Hashem is asid to answer our tefillah when we're assaulted from them in the end of days. That means the role of Yishmael is to elicit powerful tefillah. So that's the order of the day. Powerful tefillah. But not just like in general, generic, we're in trouble, let's daven. Realize there's an enemy here. The objective of the enemy is to elicit powerful tefillah. So let's do that. Now we're educating ourselves in the tactic, the tachsisei milchama against Yishmael. The koyach hatfila is a specific koyach hatfila. Or even understanding, Tehillim, every night in my neighborhood, every night they're atzeres tefillah, and we say Tehillim. What's the nekuda of Tehillim? There's something significant specifically about Tehillim against Yishmael. The Gra famously teaches that the 2 final Golasim is Golas Edom, Golas Esav, and Golas Yishmael. And there's a concept of 2 Mashiachim. There's Mashiach ben Yosef, who extricates us from Golas Edom. Edom is compared to a shar, and Yishmael and Yosef is compared to a shar, B'char Sharei Hadalai. So the koyach of Yosef to extricate us from Golas Edom. But now we're facing Golas Yishmael. And Golas Yishmael is compared to a chamar. Yishvu lachem payim hachamar. So the Gaon teaches that to counteract Yishmael, we have Dovid. Dovid is ani v'roichev al chamar. That Mashiach ben Dovid takes us out of Golas Yishmael. So Tehillim is summoning, accessing, tapping into the koyach of the ani v'roichev al chamar to counteract Yishmael, who is Yishvu lachem payim hachamar. So the more we understand, the more we're educated about the enemy, the more we could appreciate, the more meaningful our warfare will be. It's not just, we're in an 8-star, so let's daven, let's say Tehillim, let's do chesed. Recognize the specific identity and personality of the enemy will make our avodah all the more meaningful. We're in war, so perhaps it's kedai to revisit a teaching of Chassam Sofer. Chassam Sofer teaches us, Talmidei Chachamim Marbim Shalom Ba'olam. How so? That Chassam Sofer teaches there's a certain quota of warfare that's nigzam min hashamayim, and by engaging in Milchamta Shel Torah, it sort of fulfills to an extent that quota, and it minimizes whatever wars are in the world. So, maybe in general we have certain siddharim, and we learn and we absorb. Maybe now the call of the hour is that our learning should take on a certain intensity, a certain passion. We should engage in Milchamta Shel Torah. Yadav Rav Lai, the idea that Talmidei Chacham Marbim Shalom Ba'olam. Maybe this is the time to have a more heated learning with our Chavrusa, or go to our Rabbeim, our Rabbanim, and ask and be immersed in the learning in a more passionate way. That's a way to be Mamayit Milchama Ba'olam. Now, these are all ideas that we're doing. Klal Yisrael knows about it. We know about Torah. We know about Tefillah. But to be able to identify why in the current situation these techniques and methodologies are particularly effective. There's amazing, Reb Chaim Vital wrote a Perush on Tehillim called Eitz Hadas Tov, and he identifies that Parak Kuf Chaf Daled, Sher Hamalef Dovid, Lulei Hashem Shahaya Lanu Yaman Yisrael, Lulei Hashem Shahaya Lanu Bekum Aleinu Adam. So Chaim Vital says, which enemy is Adam? Because we know from Daniel that the Arba Golios are compared to Chayos. Bavel is the lion, and Paras is the bear, and Yavan is a leopard. But who's Adam? So Chaim Vital teaches Adam is the fifth Galus Yishmael, the Para Adam. He's called Adam because he has Mila. So Chaim Vital uncovers the Koyach of Yishmael is Bris Mila. So, that should give us pause for reflection. Their Koyach is the power of Mila, the power of Kedushas Yisod. That's something to think about. We need to up our ante in that area, in Kedusha, in Mila.
It's also, Tisha Kavim, Asara Kavim Delusia Delaylam, Tisha Nashli Yishmaelim. So they're miyuchad in that.
Yeah. So look, to tell you the truth, I wasn't going there, but we're here now, so let's talk about that. You mentioned that's a particular vulnerability of Yishmael, and that's bolstered by other Divrei Chazal, that when Hashem took the Torah around to the nations of the world, and Esav said, what does it say? Hashem said, Esav said, right? But by Yishmael, there are Ma'amorei Chazal that Yishmael didn't want the Torah because of Leisinaf. So that's a way of sort of overcoming them, excelling in Inyanei Kedusha. But what's interesting is Reb Chaim Vital writes that Per Kuf Chav Daled, which is the fight against Yishmael, ends off. He also says that of all the Golosim, many where they wanted to convert us, Yishmael doesn't want to convert us. Azai Chayim B'La'unu. They just want to swallow us alive. They want to completely eradicate any remnant of not Judaism, Jews, to swallow us alive. And the parak concludes as Reinu b'Shem Hashem Oisei Shemayim V'Aretz. Says Reb Chaim Vital, in this Golos, of course the Chusim are important, but they're not going to do the job. Against Yishmael, we need Bitachon. That's the message of David HaMelech, that against the Adam of Lulei Hashem Shahaya Lanu, it's as Reinu b'Shem Hashem. So these are all tactics that are revealed to us by Chazal, by our Chachamim Zechreinim Levracha, and like any subject in Halacha or Hashkafa, yet we need Chizuk, we also need education. How do we fight the war? What are the particular Zechusim, merits, mitzvahs that we should focus on? And for Jews in America, I think as important as it is to focus on, as we mentioned, the root of the war in Shamayim, and to focus on our, of course, Torah Magno Matzla, Tefillah, that Hashem is destined to listen to us. But the danger, I don't know if I should use the word danger, but we can't lose focus of the empathy for the soldiers who are fighting the physical war. So there has to be a duality, a recognition of the spiritual source of it, but a true feeling of sympathy, camaraderie, and being noisei ba'al with those who are risking their life. And if I could humbly suggest, we say so often that when Klal Yisrael were languishing in Mitzrayim, we constantly quote, Vayigdal Moshe, Vayetze Alecha, Vayar B'Sivloisam. Rashi famously says, Nasan Eina V'Libai Lios Meitzar Alehem. So we say, that was a nice thing Moshe did. He placed his heart in his eyes to feel their pain. It's beyond that. It's beyond a nice thing. It's beyond important. Rashi also told us that during the Golos, Parshas Vayechi is a Parshas Suma. Rashi said, because Nistimu Einehem V'Liban Shal Yisrael. The eyes and the heart of the Jewish people were sealed shut. I can't help but think, why the emphasis that our eyes and our heart are sealed shut? I truly think Rashi is saying that we became so caught up in our personal tragedy that we lost the ability to feel the pain of another and to see the pain of another. That's what it means, nistamu einehem v'liban shel Yisrael. Because when a person is reeling, then they can only focus on themselves. How could you even see and feel the pain of someone else? And you know what the problem with that is? That if you can see and feel the pain of someone else, then the Rebbe Shem deals with us quid pro quo mida keneged mida. So Rebbe Shem says, kiviyachal, okay, you can't see or feel someone else's pain, then how do you expect me to accord myself as if I'm acutely seeing and feeling your pain? And that's a predicament we can't be in. We need to elicit that the Shamayim is acutely seeing and feeling our pain. So you know who saved the day? The Raya Mehemna, Moshe Rabbeinu comes. And Nasan, Eina, Velibai, Leo Smeitza Aleim. Moshe Rabbeinu says, no, I'm going to break this cycle. I'm going to look intently at the pain. I'm going to try to feel the pain. Unbelievably, a few psukim later, Vayar Eloikim es b'nei Yisrael, Vayeda Eloikim, says Rashi, Hashem placed his eyes on the pain of the Jewish people, and he placed his heart on the pain of the Jewish people. Moshe broke the cycle. Now Shamayim says, I'm looking very intently now, and I'm feeling what you're going through. So on the one hand, we recognize that there's a physical war, but there's a spiritual war that's important. And at the same time, we can't be callous in any way. We have to be acutely sensitive that there are Yidden going out there on the front lines, and they have families, they have wives, they have children, who they go to sleep at night hoping they're going to see their loved ones again. So there's a dual war that's taking place. We can't lose focus of either, and we all have to do our part, and our part is extremely important, and our part we have to say and we have to believe, and that is the truth, that what we do will spell the difference. And ultimately, like David HaMelech says in Tehillim, B'kum aleinu Adam, it's Ezreinu b'shem Hashem, Oisei Shemayim v'aretz. So this week we're reading Bereshis Bar Elokim, Es Hashemayim v'es ha'aretz, and we could place our trust in Hashem, who created heaven and earth for us. B'shol Yisrael shenikra Bereshis, B'shol HaTorah shenikra Bereshis, and we have to strengthen ourselves in feeling that we're not invincible. It's not koichi v'oitzim yadi. The call of the day is feeling as Reinu, b'shem Hashem, oisei shamayim v'aretz. Our aura of invincibility has been shattered. Not in more than 50 years of this country have we ever been exposed like this. So the Rebbe Shem is reminding us, against Yishmael, B'kum aleinu Adam, as Reinu, b'shem Hashem, oisei shamayim v'aretz. And as it's Hashem, na'aseh v'natzliach.
And it's mavur in the Rishonim that the Ikka Tefillah is during a Tzara. What does the Chinuch say? Misha Tzar lo v'le'kar l'Hashem le'shiyeh einshe gadol shu k'meiser hashgachas Hashem e'elav. And that's, the Ramban says the Ikka Tefillah is during an Eis Tzara. So the Daraisa of Tefillah is during an Eis Tzara. So now is the time of Tmilas Chazik in Tefillah. Rabbi Glatstein, thank you very much. That was beautiful and profound.
Thank you so much.